We're going to talk to you about the Carl's Conflict of Interest project. Conflict of interest in medical publication is important because it's a source of bias. We know that drug industry sponsored research tends to generate effect sizes in drugs that are about 50% higher than non-drug industry supported research. And when browsing and when reading journal articles, it's important to get an indication of what that potential conflict of interest is. There are standards for declaring, authors declaring conflicts of interest when they publish, but these are applied with varying degrees of rigour, and it's not always, or it's not often, very visible what the potential conflict of interest is. So the aim here was to try and make this potential conflict of interest more visible. We started with the conflict of interest statements that are made by authors. Now these follow a standard set by the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, but unfortunately these conflict of interest statements are only available in the full text journal. They're narrative and they're declared with varying degrees of rigour, as one might imagine. So we needed to look at alternative sorts of data to provide this sort of information. There are databases about patents online, there are databases of drugs and license applications. Since 2010, drug companies have been required in the US to declare all payments made to physicians. So we decided to take a mixed data linkage social networking approach. So we've got a trial database with some data linkage from some of these data sources, and we've generated a site where users can add and amend potential conflict of information. And here we've kind of got a prototype name called Rat Tracker, but we probably have to change that after consultation with the lawyers. But the idea being is if you hit a paper on a journal site, now you're probably all familiar with the little symbol to the side showing a Digit link or a Facebook link where you can go and talk about this important research. Well, there'd be a conflict of interest link. You'd click on that, you'd come to this page, it would hopefully show you something about that paper. You can also search by a paper or an author, and it will show you here's a list of papers by a guy called Wakefield. If we click on one of these, we can create a conflict. So we may know, so Wakefield, for example, he held patents for single vaccines, which he didn't declare as conflict of interest. And it may be that, hey, I know this, and I can now go in and create a new conflict entry and specify what kind of conflict that may be, whether it's financial or employment or whatever. Save that change, and now that is recorded, and at the end there you'll see whoever comes to that particular hit in the future will see 3 potential conflicts. So hopefully, we would be able to populate this database with additional information from these other sources we've mentioned, but then have the user base actually build a more organic picture of potential conflict of interest. Now this is a good prototype, but it still needs a lot of work. And the team, this interface was built by Matt Cutting here, the data layer by Adrian Wilkins. The domain knowledge came from Helga Perry, and patient perspective from Chris Danquo, and I did all the credit scraping at the end. So that's that. Thank you.
Just a quickie, can this link to the Companies House database? Because of course that's
Absolutely.
where your COIs are tucked in.
Yeah. So there's Companies House, there's patents online,
Right.
there's the drug company payments databases. There are all kinds of databases out there. So it's quite a big data linkage exercise. Obviously, we couldn't do very much in 48 hours, but over a period of time, you could get quite a body of data.
So what I wasn't clear about
Yeah.
is who adds the extra data? Is it a Wikipedia style thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what happens if somebody adds something false to discredit somebody?
Yeah.
Can you only add things that come from reliable data sources, or is there any way of controlling that?
Thus far, we've got no. I mean, we've had no. There's no. Well, I forget the phrase for it. Moderator. There is no moderation of this prototype. But I think that's absolutely right. You would need to have some sort of method of flagging potential poor quality entries made in the same way that Wikipedia will give you a big flag at the top saying this needs improvement. I think a lot of thought would have to go into how do we maintain the quality of the conflict entries.
Or you could restrict the transfer of information from certain sources only, and that's another way of handling. Any other points? Thank you very much.